Thank you for the invitation by the SSSUK for our team to present today. This is sort of an opinion or an observation. We had like a group, like a focus group discussion in WhatsApp, and we were discussing about the social injustice that led to a political change. So we welcome all of the ideas that you will bring to this discussion. As we have been following the revolution, some people call it uprising, and the most famous slogan was حرية سلام عدالة وثورة خيار الشعب. We had the freedom and justice and peace linked together. And people think about justice, about the legal justice, about the the crime against humanity, and about the genocide. But there is another element as well, which is the social injustice that has been taking place for the last 30 years in Sudan. So what happened in Sudan since December until now, there are different stories and different versions. And this is just one story that can add to the jigsaw about why and how did we unite and manage to make some change. We're not yet there, so we still have some work to do. The work that has been achieved is a collective work for the resistance that has been ongoing for the last 30 years. And we were all sort of asking ourselves, is it time? When will we get rid of Omar al-Bashir? But was it about Omar al-Bashir really? Or was it about the whole system and the whole sort of Islamic Front line groups? It was not only about Omar al-Bashir, but as you may have been following, there has been this discussion about complete change and reform, just getting rid of Omar al-Bashir but going for the election in 2020. And therefore, I would say we started by having two groups. One group is going for complete change, another group is going for gradual change. So if I just give you a background about the situation in health, health for all and accessing health service is a human right, as per the WHO, and as well in the Sudan Constitution in 2005. But this is not the fact when you look at the WHO statistical report, which indicates the high mortality rate among women, neonatal mortality rate, the high death from suicide among cases with mental health, and so forth. It was really, really very worrying when this report came in 2018. So people were not just killed by bullets. People died because they can't access health service, because they can't afford medication. And this is one of the sad and alarming photos in 2016 when Anwar Mahmoud wrote that he has diabetes, he has got heart disease, he has gout, but he can't afford his medication, and he went on the street, and that was addressed to Omar al-Bashir. There was loss of dignity because of social injustice. I would like to discuss here what we thought that the disease outbreak in Sudan became a recurrent phenomenon. So it was very common to hear that there were cholera outbreaks, dengue, febrile illnesses, whatever, in different parts of Sudan. And people would have taken that as acceptable. It is not acceptable. It can be accepted when there is a natural disaster following a hurricane. It can be in a conflict zone where there is war, but it's not acceptable in a stable areas and city unless there is poor governance and complete destruction of the infrastructure. This cartoon came out in 2018, and when you look at it, it just indicates that people in Sudan, in all aspects, were struggling. And I think it was, when you look into it, you can reflect and you can relate to it. Those who were visiting Sudan almost twice or three times per year. And all of the public sectors have been great. So here we have the health, we have the railways, we have Sudan Air, we have a Jazeera scheme. So we have lost all of our public sector, and this has added to the problems of Sudan. The cholera outbreak that took place in 2016-2017 was in Tokar, Sawakin, in Kosti, the White Nile, in the Blue Nile at that time. And immediately the people inside Sudan and outside Sudan formed groups, started donating money, as Amira have mentioned, started to think about writing guidelines, talking about training the staff about infection control, about reaching for the public, because nobody will give any will increase the public awareness. They will keep quiet, they will say there is no cholera outbreak. In itself, this is a human rights violation, that you don't know that there is an outbreak and how you should protect yourself. So the people were working together. There were 22 NGOs and youth groups like Shabab al-Hawadis, with doctors, with nurses working in this campaign. And the campaign went on and on, and it was really successful because there was no other competition. The government was just, or the pre-government was just watching about what's going on. There were leaflets that were printed and distributed by the locals. After that's finished, people felt very positive, and they felt that working together, they have achieved a positive outcome. But as well, it raised the debate. Why are we doing this? Who is supposed to be responsible to protect the people of Sudan? Is it us, or is it the government? This is, I'm just copying some of the statements from some of the individuals who were part of it. So there was Save the White Nile was one of the groups that was working the cholera campaign. And what this lady said, she said that our connection provided support to each other, sharing information, organizing activities, and refining ideas. With high level of communication, we managed to mobilize large numbers of people to draw international attention. I witnessed the development of public consensus calling for change that helped later organizing protests in different parts of Sudan. We all gathered in these groups for a common cause, better life for us and our families. Because the government did not declare that there is cholera, so we were not able to obtain a cholera vaccine from the WHO, which was a trigger for anger among the public when obviously they knew about it. Now, moving north in Al-Manasir area, after the dam was built, there was no public consultation, obviously. Public were not happy to leave. They lived in a very bad situation, and we have lost about 90 children because of scorpion sting. This is a photo from there, and then we again gathered together to see what we can do. And you can see different sectors talking about how can we prevent that. But it was very difficult this time. It was very difficult because they are using boats to travel. They cannot access Dongola Hospital. The antivenom, the cold chain is not working. They don't have a first aid. It was beyond this group of volunteers and the money that we donate. So the debate was very heated about it's time for change. We cannot do that on our own. Sadly, last year in the same area, we lost 22 children while they were crossing the Nile in a boat to go to the school. Because these boats are fishing boats. They are not for traveling. Obviously, they didn't have safety suits. And immediately you can see the reaction that people want to build schools. Let us donate those who are in the Gulf. Let us build the schools. But people said, no, we can't do it this time. We need to change this regime. We deserve a better life. And so the discussion was going on and on in these groups. It was like live debate at different levels. I'm not sure if we can show that or not. No? Okay. They're moving to the east, where recently in 2018 we had the fever outbreak. The question was, is it malaria? Is it dengue? Is it chikungunya, another viral illness? It was after the rainy season, similar to this time. So there was a lot of floods, no drainage, and there was a lot of mosquitoes, and there was no spray, and though people were really sick. What caused the trigger? What triggered the anger among the public was that the WHO reported what the government said, that there were no death cases and it was only a few cases of illness while people were really dying. So, just reporting from one of the contributors who was in what we call the Kankasha outbreak, because you have very stiff sort of joints and muscle ache. She is not a doctor, and this is how she felt. I think the most important thing which she said at the end, we organized the committee in our area during the outbreak. It was in Kassala, and that's the area where she came from. This turned to be one of the resistant committee afterwards. So they knew each other during the outbreak, and that helped them when there was the resolution. The Sudan Doctors strike was another example. This strike took place in 2016. It was about changing the environment of work. This was not a strike calling for doctors to have more payment. And this is one of the junior doctors who used to work in Kordofan, who was part of our Twitter campaign. What he said that he was in Kordofan, in Al Ubaid, working in that hospital in 2016, part of the Twitter campaign that's taking place for the Sudan Doctors Union. We come to know each other, so when in 2018 we started the other strike, we knew who we can depend on, who is active, who can work, and who has got a better link. So in summary, what I would like to say that part of the way that has worked, that people were linked, people were reaching a point that it's change, it's not reform. The social injustice, the feeling that it can be me just because everybody can die from an epidemic. It's not about any social class at this level. Made people feel that it's time for us to move towards New Sudan. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.